Welcome to this next and final video that we're looking at the structure of the book of Daniel. Again, Daniel is intricately put together, and so this is going to be the final one that we look at, and that's the chronological layout of the book of Daniel. Like we already said, the first 6 chapters of the book of Daniel are primarily narrative, but when do they all take place within the grand scheme of then the visions at the latter half, the prophecies at the latter half of the book of Daniel. And so just laying these on top of each other, what we see here is the 6 narratives of the book of Daniel. Daniel being exiled happens in chapter 1. Then we see Nebuchadnezzar's vision in chapter 2. Then we see the furnace, the fiery furnace in chapter 3. And then Nebuchadnezzar being deranged is in line with the prophecy or the vision that Daniel receives in chapter 7 that talks about all of history and who will remain in dominion over all of history. So that happens about the same time. We have a cue in the beginning of chapter 7 putting this at the year 553. Then Daniel receives another vision in 550 in chapter 8 about 2 kingdoms in particular, the kingdoms that are going to come after the Babylonian kingdom. And so that comes in 550, and it's only after that, after a couple of the kings have come and gone, that Belshazzar is hosting this great feast, and he sees the handwriting on the wall there in chapter 5. And then in chapter 6, Darius is ruling in Babylon, and that's when the advisors attempt to have Daniel killed and thrown, and so they throw him into the lion's den by issuing a small little, just a law of the Medes and the Persians, something that can't be revoked. And so they attempt to get Daniel killed in chapter 6, and it's around this time that chapter 9 happens with Daniel's prayer. Chapter 9 in 538, this is after the fall of the Babylonian Empire. Babylon, the city, is still in existence, but it's under the ruling of the Medes and the Persians, the Medo-Persian Empire, and Darius has been given charge to reign over the Medo-Persian Empire in Babylon, and Daniel's prayer happens either just before or right after him being thrown into the lion's den. And this happens in 538, after the takeover in 539. So if you're taking dates, just about a year before that was the takeover of Belshazzar, when Belshazzar saw the handwriting on the wall. That's about a year ahead of time. And then soon after that, Darius is convinced to throw Daniel in the lion's den. Daniel prays, and then somewhere after that, a couple years after that, probably around 536, near the end of Daniel's life, in chapters 10 to 12 is where we would put this, we see Daniel being given a vision of the exile ending, of what's going to eventually happen. Hopefully, this is helpful for you to see kind of what happens chronologically, that these 4 happen initially, and then Daniel is given his vision in chapter 7 about all of history. And then Daniel is given a vision about 2 kingdoms in particular. After that, Belshazzar sees the handwriting on the wall. Daniel is thrown in the lion's den, and then Daniel prays and is given another vision in 538 after the fall of the Babylonian Empire to the Medes and the Persians. And then in 536, Daniel gets another vision about the end of the exile. So this is the chronological structure to the book of Daniel. Next, we'll look at a little bit more of the historiography, some dates, some rulers, and then we'll look at some geography, just to get us into the world of the original readers who were reading this, and they had concepts for what was where and who was ruling what and where they were ruling over. And so we'll go over that in the next couple videos.